Good evening. Let's get you through Wednesday. Let's get you to the back half of this week. Thursday and Friday certainly sound like a lot more fun than Wednesday. Day off for the 49ers players tomorrow on Thursday. Not a day off for the coaches or for me. Be back in the team facility to interview the assistant coaches tomorrow morning. That's actually one of the more insightful sessions of training camp. And everything's been insightful lately. It's been a wild week plus of 49ers training camp. Remember, at this time last week, we were still just recovering from the first practice that opened camp. We were doing all the opening day kind of stuff. Since then, the 49ers have donned pads and taken them back off. Today's session actually didn't feature pads as the 49ers decided to do some body maintenance work. That's all decided by the performance staff, and they're going to couple up the lighter day today with the day off for players tomorrow as a way to try to keep the injuries at a minimum. So anyway, we've seen the pads come on and come off over the course of the week. We've seen Deebo Samuel re-sign with the 49ers, ending months and months of drama. We've seen, we didn't see it, but John Lynch said that he fell off of his bike after the Deebo Samuel contract extension. He went out to get some air and supposedly he wasn't wearing a helmet, flew off his bike. I guess he bruised up his face a little bit, so he's wearing sunglasses everywhere now. So that's happened. We've seen struggles from Trey Lance. We've seen some sensational throws from Trey Lance. We've obviously seen Deebo Samuel go from holding in to performing on the practice field. We have seen two scraps on the practice field. Brandon Ayuk getting into it with Fred Warner round one and round two. That was on Tuesday. We've seen some good food at the 49ers facility. They fed us well, I have to say that. That's been good. And we've seen optimism coming out of the 49ers building as far as their 2022 chances. On a sadder note, we have seen a couple season-ending injuries, one for Maurice Hurst, who's officially on injured reserve with a torn biceps muscle, so he's not going to be available to return this year. And Jordan Matthews, the receiver turned tight end, who had been doing a good job in his conversion to tight end, had a shot to crack that 53-man roster this year. He tore his ACL on Monday, and Jordan Matthews, because of that, is going to go to IR. And he's done for the season. So that's not good news, but that's the brief update. As you can see on the screen, that's essentially the title of this piece. Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel weren't on the same page on the downfield pass today. And then Trey Lance just in general wasn't really clicking today until the very end of practice. Trey Lance was 3 for 9 on Wednesday. So I want to talk a little bit about the struggles that he's had going against the 49ers first team defense this year, and potentially some of the struggles that might continue with him and Deebo Samuel, because Deebo just got back into team drills, and it does look like there was a little bit of miscommunication between the two there. In Trey's 3 for 9 today, I do have to clarify this just for fairness sake. There were a couple drops. Elijah Mitchell dropped his second pass that was coming out of the backfield, and then Deebo Samuel actually dropped one as well. And then Lance did hit a deep one to Brandon Ayuk. That was one of the nicest plays today of practice. That was the only pass that Trey Lance completed before red zone drills. And then after the deep completion to Ayuk, he just, I'm sorry, he didn't complete it to Ayuk. That was yesterday. Wow, I totally misspoke. The only completion was to Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I'm just looking through my notes here. These days kind of blend together in camp. He missed the one badly to Ayuk. That's what it was. Okay, here we go. Let me recap. First, he goes deep to Ayuk, misses him fairly badly. Then he throws short to Elijah Mitchell. That's a drop. Then he completes one to Elijah Mitchell coming out of the backfield. Then there's a pass that's incomplete to JaMychal Hasty coming out of the backfield. Then there's an incompletion to Deebo Samuel. It's a drop. That should have been a catch, just like the Mitchell one. And then we have, to end the normal practice period session before red zone, we have a deep incompletion to Ayuk and a deep incompletion to Samuel, where everybody was just kind of like, what the hell is going on? Lance kind of brought his helmet up and looked confused looking at Deebo Samuel, and it just wasn't pretty. He was 1 for 7 at that point. And then what happened is this. Brandon Ayuk continues to be sensational. We went on to red zone stuff, and Lance shuffled away from the pressure and just threw a dart toward the pylon. Brandon Ayuk was moving toward the sideline. Charvarius Ward, who's been amazing throughout this training camp, was draped all over Brandon Ayuk, but somehow, some way, that throw was in a perfect spot from Lance, and Ayuk grabbed it, got both feet in bounds, held onto the ball. He's kind of sliding / diving, hell of a catch. That was a touchdown. And then Lance threw a touchdown to Jermichael Hasty. Meanwhile, the second team was doing really well. Nate Sudfeld was 8 for 8 today, so it's a lot easier to go up against the second team defense than it is the first team defense. But Sudfeld's 2 throws in red zone were both completions. One of them was another really nice touchdown to Brandon Ayuk at the back of the end zone, who leapt up into the air and snagged the pass over the cornerback Kadar Hallman, Samuel Womack's former teammate from Toledo. So you had Sudfeld 8 of 8, Lance a total of 3 of 9, and Brock Purdy 5 of 7. So that's the summary. This is what we're talking about, though. Trey Lance 3 of 9 on Wednesday, and I know they're hand wringing. I know there's probably worries about this, and let's put everything into context right now. There should be some worries about this, as we've said the whole time. We don't know exactly what Trey Lance is going to be able to bring the 49ers this year. We do know that he so far has shown to be a low floor, high ceiling type of player. And we know that the 49ers have a very talented defense. The special team should be a lot better, and they've got to rein the bad in from Trey Lance and accentuate the good. And I'll tell you what, defense and special teams, quality defense and special teams has won teams a lot of titles in the past, as long as the offense doesn't mess it up. I get this vibe from the 49ers that right now, at least to start the season, they just don't want the offense to mess it up, because you could see how they're doing right now. I'll put this up on the screen. This is the tracker that I keep up on Google Sheets. If you want to check it out, go into the chat section and you can definitely follow along right there. I keep splits, and if you look down here at the, just the totals from the 49ers training camp so far, it is a story of inaccuracy from Trey Lance. 42 of 87, 48% completion rate, interception rate 4.6% with four picks. Sudfeld and Purdy are both above 71%. In fact, you could probably round it up to 72. They're too high on the pick rate. The picks are crazy, by the way, today. If we want to talk about interceptions, Diomedor Leonard a pick 6 that came against Brock Purdy. It was the fault of Austin Mack, the receiver, bounced off his hands. Lenore ran it in. That's interception number 12 for the 49ers. That surpasses the total amount of picks that they had all of last training camp, number 11. So that gives you an idea of what's going on here, both from the secondary standpoint and the struggles from the offensive standpoint. Now, most of the picks, 5 of them have come from Nate Sudfeld, but 4 have come from Lance, and a ton of incompletions from Lance, obviously. At 48%, he's going to have to get better. Right. These aren't advanced stats by any stretch of the imagination, but we all know that 48% means that he's been erratic. He's new. He's facing a ferocious defense, and he's got a month plus to iron things out as much as possible to, again, raise the floor so that he's residing near the ceiling a little bit more often. And I think it's perfectly poetic, and it's exciting that he gets to face Justin Fields on the other side. Right, the quarterback that a lot of people debated about, him and Lance, in the lead up to the 2021 draft. There'll be Fields against Lance, in all likelihood, Bears against the 49ers on September 11th in week 1. But the numbers that I did put up on your screen, there are no lies there. Trey Lance has been great at times, but the 49ers need to increase the consistency. And I thought that today the inconsistency was there because there was some miscommunications downfield. I talk about the offensive line on every single show. I still think it's an issue. I will say this right here. Brendel and Brunskill are continuing to rotate at center. So the 49ers don't have center stability as we speak, because they're still auditioning these two players, and they probably will be for at least a couple more weeks. And last year they had the luxury of having Alex Mack in there, an all-pro center perennially throughout the course of his career. He might be headed to the Hall of Fame. Alex Mack brought stability to the center position that the 49ers simply have not enjoyed outside of 2021 under Kyle Shanahan. They don't have stability there right now during training camp because Brendel and Brunskill are competing. So there are different looks on each series for Trey Lance, with those guys rotating like musical chairs. That's going to make it tougher for the quarterback. And on top of that, it's not just the center. You've got a new left guard in Aaron Banks, and you have a new right guard in Spencer Burford, who with every passing practice looks like he's more likely going to be that starting right guard for the 49ers come September 11th. And by the way, Matt Barrows had a great article. Let me find this. Matt wrote about Mike McGlinchey, by the way, today. We're going to talk about his weight in a second. But you guys should check out Matt's piece that I'm going to throw up on the screen on Trent Williams right here. Because Trent Williams, I mean, this guy is so good for the ecosystem of the 49ers football team. This is it. Trent Williams took 49ers rookies under his wing, and they're flying early in camp. So Trent Williams told Jason Poe, undrafted free agent, and Spencer Burford, the 4th-round pick. Article is in the chat section if you want to check out the link. He told both of these guys in the offseason, I think you got a lot of potential. He kind of had an open invite to the 49ers offensive line, and Burford and Poe took Trent Williams up on his invite, and they trained with him during this summer. And then Burford had to go back to San Antonio, and he flew commercial to the Bay Area. But Trent Williams took Jason Poe with him on his private jet from Texas to the Bay Area for training camp. I talked to Jason Poe today after practice. I let him know that Matt wrote this nice article about Trent Williams and the tutelage that he's given him. And just tell me, put yourself in Jason Poe's shoes. Undrafted free agent at a Mercer. I mean, you're low on the totem pole, and it's your goal to make an NFL roster, but you're a long shot, right? There's no way around it. You're a long shot. You're the shortest offensive lineman in the league. You're an undrafted free agent. You're trying to make the NFL roster, but God, it's going to be tough. Trent Williams, meanwhile, might be the best player in the entire National Football League, and he decides to take you under his wing, train with you in the offseason, and fly you out on his private jet to training camp. Let's add to the fact that Trent Williams was the liaison between Deebo Samuel and the 49ers, the big brother for Deebo Samuel and a friend of Kyle Shanahan back to the Washington days. So the fact that Trent Williams is in this building with this franchise is proving to be so valuable for the 49ers, beyond the fact that he might be the best player in football, definitely the best offensive tackle in football. And God, they're happy they have the best tackle in football, because the rest of this offensive line has got some question marks, right? I mean, Matt wrote another piece today. We can go backwards here. Check it out. His piece on Mike McGlinchey. And McGlinchey spoke today at practice. Internet seems to not be going as fast as it should be, but we'll wait for that sucker to load. This is big news because Trent's obviously not a question at left tackle, but the 49ers have questions at left guard, where Banks has to prove himself, at center, where it's going to be Brendel Brunskill or Mystery Man, right? If they sign somebody, probably Banks or Brunskill, right? And right guard, where Burford still has to prove himself, obviously. Right tackle is, I think, a question too, because McGlinchey's coming off a quad injury, and there's a lot of people that were wringing their hands over his weight, saying he was too light. Yes, McGlinchey was way too light in 2020. He was playing at like 295 pounds as an NFL offensive tackle against bull rushers. I mean, Richard Sherman called him the Big Slim, and it's probably not where he wanted to be. He was getting decked in pass protection when he was trying to anchor. McGlinchey looks bigger to me. And then there's people on the internet, on my comment section, whenever I post a video of him, everybody's like, oh boy, he's looking too skinny. Am I seeing the same thing? He didn't look any lighter to me than he did last year when he was at a good weight before he tore his quad. And it turns out that he's at a fine weight, 305 to 310 pounds. He posted a picture or video of himself on a scale a few months ago during his rehab, and it was 310 pounds. And if McGlinchey's at 310, I think that's where the 49ers want him, because he hasn't been a great pass blocker in his career. Up until this last year before he got hurt, he improved the pass blocking because he was heavier. The run blocking actually was a little bit worse last year, but the 49ers need protection for Trey Lance. So speaking of the offensive line, you got McGlinchey on one side, you got Trent Williams on the other, and Trent Williams, boy, are the 49ers happy to have him, because you got at least one all-pro fixture that you can use to kind of spread the wealth, spread the knowledge to the rest of the offensive line and to the rest of the team, for that matter, given the work that he did in the Deebo Samuel situation. So let's move on. No, this is just kind of a grab bag. I'm talking about a bunch of different stuff. Tarvarius Moore took some first-team reps at safety today. That was really interesting to me, because I thought Tarvarius has been coming on strong after returning from the Achilles injury during OTAs and now in training camp. He had a couple picks on Saturday, and they started the practice today with Tarvarius Moore and Jimmy Ward back there. And then they subbed out Jimmy Ward to give him a little bit of a break. Ward later spoke in the press conference, complimented Brandon Ayuk, said he's been the second best player of camp behind only Nick Bosa. But, as soon as Ward subbed out, then you had Moore stay in with Talanoa Hufanga. And listen, the 49ers are going to run a lot of 3 safety sets. That's what D'Amico Ryans likes to do. They did last year. That's how Hufanga got in on a lot of the action during his rookie year. And if they're going to run 3 safety sets, then it doesn't matter which dog you have in this fight, Hufanga or Tarvarius Moore. And I think that Hufanga has been ahead of Moore. Obviously, he's gotten more of the first-team reps. All 3 of those guys are going to play, though, or both of them, I should say, because Ward's obviously going to play. So the fact that Moore is grabbing this opportunity by the horns, it's a contract year, coming off an injury, starting today, 2 picks already in training camp. That's good news for the 49ers, and I think you're going to see a lot of Tarvarius Moore this season. Moving on to Tanner Hudson. I talked about this walking off the field today in my little quick live, but I want to talk about it some more, especially because there's some other news that I don't think I put up here, and I talked about it earlier, so I'll just mention it. Jordan Matthews tore his ACL, and we're not really sure what the 49ers are going to do at the second tight end spot. In fact, I should open up the roster right now to have a look at this. This is the 90-man roster. Make it big on the screen. Why don't we stretch it out and make it nice and wide? There you guys go. Maybe I make my face disappear here for a few seconds so you could read it all. But look at the tight end position right now. Just as a opening caveat here, remember that Kyle Shanahan has typically liked to carry 4 tight ends on the 53-man roster. He doesn't like to keep it at only 3, but right now I'm still not exactly sure who that 4th guy is. Jordan Matthews tore his ACL, so he's now on this list. He's now on injured reserve. You're not going to see him again. It's a sad story for the 49ers and for Jordan Matthews. So you have Kittle, you have Dwelly. Charlie Werner right now is hurt, and maybe he'll be back. You hope he's back by the time of the regular season. So if he's back, then you have your 3 are Kittle, Dwelly, and Werner. Those are your familiar 3. Croft has played his share of snaps at the NFL level. He's been around for a few years. Is he your 4th? Or is it this guy right here, Tanner Hudson? His name's on the screen for a reason, because Tanner Hudson made some impressive catches today. 2 of them, and one especially impressive one. He just went up over a defender. It was Marcelino McCrary-Ball, the nickel linebacker out of Indiana. Same school as Nate Sudfeld, Big Ten guy, but I don't think they overlapped. Anyway, Hudson, though, it's not like this is something new for him. He has a reputation of making really nice catches. Just yesterday, he grabbed a one-handed crosser out of the air. That was really impressive. But go back to his time with Tampa Bay before the 49ers signed him last year. And Tanner Hudson was making one-handed catches all over the place. You talk to any Bucs fan, they talk about the propensity to make those kind of plays from Tanner Hudson. So the 49ers kind of drop off a cliff after George Kittle at tight end. What are they going to do beyond him at that position? I think it's open season there, right? Especially with Charlie Werner hurt right now. So I'd look out for Tanner Hudson, who had a nice day today. One-on-one highlight today. Maybe I should highlight one of these every single time, but Ambry Thomas of all people, right? The guy that we were talking about not being physically strong enough last year, that needed to put on some muscle. He ripped one away. He out-muscled Juwan Jennings on a fade pattern from Trey Lance and one-on-ones into the end zone. And there's 2 things going on here. A, good for Ambry Thomas. He's needed a win like that. He needs to win at the point of attack. He has great movement skills. We saw that last year in his first career extended action against the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Ambry Thomas was all over opposing receivers, but he kept on losing at the point of attack against Jamar Chase and the Bengals. So winning at the point of attack is the next step for Ambry Thomas, and he definitely won at the point of attack. But the fact that Juwan Jennings lost at that point of attack made me scratch my head. I mean, the guy's 6'3". He's the biggest, strongest, not the strongest. I mean, Deebo Samuel is probably the strongest receiver on this roster, but he should be one of the biggest and strongest receivers on the 49ers roster. And Juwan Jennings has struggled a bit the last couple practices. We saw that one the other day in the red zone drills where there was a pass right in his breadbasket, but then Dante Johnson hit him and knocked it away. There was a play the other day where Quantrez Knight, who's in the competition for the nickelback spot, where Darquez Denard's the heavy favorite, by the way. Big article coming on him tomorrow morning on that Rams game last year. So be sure to check that out on The Athletic. But Quantrez Knight knocked it away from Juwan Jennings, who wasn't able to get any separation on a little pattern over the middle. And Charvarius Ward has been all over Juwan on some routes to the outside, including a deep pass a few days ago. But anyway, Juwan started out camp really well. I, haven't seen too many splash plays here in the last few days from him. And then Ambry Thomas out-muscled him on the one-on-one today. So notable. We'll see what happens moving forward. I don't think that Juwan Jennings is in danger of not making the roster. I mean, he's one of the big five that I say at the wide receiver for the position for the 49ers. Deebo, Ayuk, Jennings, Danny Gray, and Ray McLeod. The question is there going to be a sixth in that group? And if camp ended today, I think it'd be Malik Turner, big number 17. Veteran. He's made some nice plays downfield. I think he's got the capability to block in Kyle Shanahan's system. But anyway, overarching thing, right? I talk about this a lot. The 49ers are a defense first team. Defense and special teams has done a lot. And they've got weapons on offense. They have a high ceiling on offense, but they've got to raise that floor. And that's up to Trey Lance, the development around him. And, I could play my Brian Greasy video. I have a video of Brian Greasy coaching up Trey Lance today. You can go ahead and search that. That's elsewhere on YouTube. But it's going to be up to the staff to work with Lance. And then that offensive line has got to help him out as much as possible. Those are the takeaways from practice today. Why don't we open it up to a few questions? It's a nice Wednesday evening, kind of a lull in the middle of the week. Talk to the assistant coaches tomorrow. If you guys want me to ask the assistants anything tomorrow, go ahead and put that into the chat section and we could talk. I'm ready for all your questions. Do you see Danny Gray taking a lot of snaps from Juwan Jennings? So I don't think they're exactly comparable as far as skill set. I think Jennings is stronger. He's a better blocker, obviously. I think Gray is the speed threat, and Jennings obviously isn't fast. But if Gray is playing really well and the 49ers are stretching the field and the line is holding up okay, yes, I could see Kyle Shanahan wanting to go to that type of offense, right? More than the down and dirty, let's get Juwan Jennings in there every down type of offense, especially if Jennings isn't giving the 49ers the explosiveness that they need. That being said, a lot of variables go into this, and it's not just Jennings versus Gray. It's offensive styles, and, it comes down to blocking too. Danny Gray is not going to be as valuable, and his field stretching ability won't be as valuable if the 49ers can't hold up a pocket around Trey Lance. Joint practices are not this next week, but the week after that. So basically we have Players Day off tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday practice. I'll be back out at the facility for that. I'll be back there tomorrow anyway. I work every day. There's no days off in training camp. And then game week against the Packers. They have a home preseason game next Friday night at Levi Stadium against Green Bay. After that, the 49ers will fly out, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure. One of those 2 days to Minnesota. Practice on Wednesday and Thursday against the Vikings, and then a game on Saturday at Minnesota. And then they're going to fly back to the Bay Area, final week of preseason action, and then there's a bye week over that Labor Day weekend, August 30th weekend, right? Or is Labor Day the weekend after that? Who knows? You lose track so quickly. I think Labor Day is always in September. But August 30th is the 53-man roster cut down, which I believe is not a weekend. So yeah, that's like a Tuesday. And then you have Labor Day weekend. That's a bye weekend. College football starts then. And then September 11th, the 49ers play Chicago. So that hopefully that answers your question. All right. Thank you, Brian. Do I see a role for Jordan Mason? Yeah, I see a role for Jordan Mason. 220-pound back, soft hands out of the backfield. Cool thing about Jordan Mason, he played at Georgia Tech. I'm sure a lot of you know what Georgia Tech is about, right? Georgia Tech is about the triple option offensively. Georgia Tech is a place that doesn't pass a whole lot, but with that triple option, I think it translates into the outside zone, right? Because you're trying to hit some holes in the outside zone. You're trying to hit some holes with the triple option. You're trying to get that edge with burst. And Mason is a big back, undrafted free agent who can, run with the rough shot of a 220-pounder, but also has the triple option background to be able to hit the holes in a way that should translate to the outside zone. Is he on the outside looking in right now? Probably yes, because the 49ers have a lot of running backs, but 49ers running backs also get hurt very frequently. So Mason, as long as he keeps on doing what he's doing, I think will develop and get an opportunity with this team. It's just how football works. You're just going to have natural roster attrition. Yeah, I do see a way of them bringing in JC Tretter, and that's if they're underwhelmed by the center position. I can't tell if they're underwhelmed by center right now. They're competing. Brendel, Brunskill probably won't be until games if we can see whether or not that communication is working well enough for Shanahan to be truly comfortable with it. Hasty will be cut if there's a logjam of running backs. This usually works itself out. Somebody's going to get dinged. I hate to see it happen, but it's really tough to predict. They just want numbers at running back. They want numbers of quality running backs. How competitive is Sudfeld with Trey Lance for the QB1 slot at this point? Not competitive at all. Sudfeld is not here to be quarterback one for the 49ers. There's zero chance. I mean, Sudfeld, it's the same thing as last year. Lance had a great completion percentage throughout the first, for 2 weeks of camp, but he was going against the twos. Garoppolo was going against the ones. Garoppolo ended up over 60% on camp anyway. Yes, is Lance struggling this year? Yeah, he's under 50%, but he's going against a great first team defense. This is development time. It's training camp. It's practice. It's fine. Sudfeld is there to be the backup. He's being paid $2 million guaranteed. You don't want to have to go to the backup. I think it's as simple as that. How many touchdowns for Trent Williams this season? I'd put the over-under at half a touchdown. So if he scores one, you win your bet. Do people realize that you can't have all pros at every position? We have plenty at almost every skill already. I think having our guards and center average will be okay, says Randall Riley. Average would be okay. You can't have them be liabilities. And the problem is that there is a risk that they will be liabilities with a second-year man, 5 career snaps in garbage time at left guard, Aaron Banks. Banks or Brundle or Brunskill at center, and Spencer Burford, a rookie at right guard. There's a chance this blows up in their face. You don't have to have all pros, but you have to have some level of competency. Sorry, did I miss somebody's super chat? Sorry if I missed your super chat, but you could ask your question again. I'll try to get to it. Sorry, guys. I mean, the channel has been blowing up, which has been really nice, and I really appreciate you all. Thanks to John Peterson. He put a good little bit in there. I appreciate you, John. But the channel's been blowing up. It's hard to keep track of all the stuff coming across sometimes. Appreciate all the viewers. If I miss you, go again if you can, and I'll try to find you down there in the chat section. But I really do appreciate all of your support. Who looks better, Banks or Burford? It's a good question. I think Banks looks pretty good, to be honest. I think today I saw Banks stand up Kinlaw on one set. Kinlaw's getting his football legs back underneath him. He looks really strong. I mean, it's speaking of guys who have physically reworked their bodies, and Kinlaw came in impressive already, but it doesn't seem like there's an ounce of body fat on him now. He's just massive, monolith out there. And Banks really has cut out the baby fat. He's looking much, much stronger than he did as a rookie. So he's had a year to work on his body. Burford does look strong for a rookie, but he hasn't had that time in an NFL weight room, just like Aaron Banks has. Thanks, man. Hit that like button. Yeah, everybody do please hit that like button. Not going to be on too much longer. I'm going to keep this about 30 minutes tonight. Channel, has been a popular place this week, but we have to have a little bit of rest as we go through these weeks. The centers on the market they can grab are, JC Tretter is the one that's available in the market that would have a quality reputation. It's you don't have offensive linemen just growing on trees, quality offensive linemen growing on trees at this time of the year. Tretter's got some knee issues, didn't practice much last year, but he plays in games, and that could be the one guy, right? But they're going to see what Brunskill and Brendel have here over the next couple of weeks. It's still early in camp. Larger picture, 7 practices in, there's going to be 17 or 18 of these, and the preseason games on top of that. Yeah, Brian Greasy's working with Trey Lance. Brian Greasy's been working hard with Trey Lance as well. Like he's a hands-on coach. Go ahead and type that in on, or just go to my channel. You're on my channel right now. Brian Greasy coaches up Trey Lance. So a lot of good clips that I got today that I posted up on the YouTube channel. All right, we hit 30 minutes. Everybody, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Matt asks, will Trey play the full first quarter Friday? I don't know. Shanahan, I don't think has made that plan yet. That's going to be interesting to me. I'll start tracking that next week. How much time does Trey Lance get? Because A, he needs the reps in game situations, but B, he doesn't need to get blown up in live contact situations. Last year, they already exposed him during the preseason, and he got hurt. He broke his finger against the Raiders, and then that compromised Shanahan's plans throughout the rest of the year. Sub to the channel, like the video, run the whole drill. Tomorrow morning on The Athletic, big article on Darquez Denard I have coming out. So maybe I'll go live in the morning to kind of talk about that piece, and we'll have some fun with that. All right, everybody take care. Thank you again for all of your support. It is very, very much appreciated. Take care. Good night. Happy Wednesday. See you.